Welcome to Myth or Reality Stories. Is this story a myth or a reality? Find out at the end.
The theater was packed, the air thick with popcorn and anticipation. I settled into my seat, surrounded by a sea of eager faces illuminated by the flickering trailers. The original Alien had left an indelible mark on the genre, a masterpiece of suspense and horror. This remake, with its modern CGI and fresh faces, promised a new take on the classic terror that birthed nightmares. As the lights dimmed, a palpable excitement coursed through the crowd. I could hear whispers of hope mingling with skepticism, a cacophony of voices eagerly debating whether this retelling could capture the raw fear of isolation and the primal dread of the unknown. I felt it too, an anxious thrill bubbling in my stomach as the opening credits rolled. The film began with a slow pan over a desolate planet, barren and unforgiving. A crew of spacefarers, diverse and brimming with bravado, landed with the kind of bravado only found in Hollywood. They laughed and joked as they disembarked, blissfully ignorant of the horror that awaited them. I could feel the audience tense, a collective shiver of recognition. We all knew what was coming. "Look at these idiots," a voice behind me scoffed. "They're just asking to get killed." The lead, a cocky pilot named Derek, was the first to make a mistake. He stumbled upon an alien artifact, a relic of a long-dead civilization. The audience gasped as he brushed off warnings, the screen glowing ominously as he touched the surface. A moment later, a hidden chamber opened, releasing a cloud of spores. "Oh, that's not good," someone whispered, and the tension in the air shifted from excitement to dread. The spores latched onto the crew, infecting them one by one. Horror unfolded on screen in brutal, grotesque detail. The film didn't shy away from the gore, it reveled in it. Limbs were torn asunder, blood sprayed like crimson fireworks, and the screams of the dying echoed in the theater, mingling with our collective gasps. Each death was a masterclass in visceral horror, each body a canvas for the alien's malicious artistry. At one point, a character named Lisa, the ship's medic, attempted to save a fellow crew member. She frantically pulled at his chest, trying to free him from the alien tendrils that had ensnared him. The audience was riveted, hearts pounding as she screamed, "Hold on! I can save you!" But the alien biology was merciless. With a sickening crunch, his ribcage gave way, and blood gushed out, splattering across her face. The theater erupted in a mix of horror and exhilaration, the sound echoing in my ears. "It's just like the old one, but worse," someone shouted, laughter tinged with madness. As the body count rose, I began to notice the audience's reactions morphing. Laughter turned to nervous excitement, then morphed into genuine panic. The film's brutality was relentless, each scene more horrific than the last. The alien, a nightmarish creature with glistening fangs and a maw that seemed to stretch infinitely, became a symbol of our own darkest fears. It was relentless, its attacks brutal and unyielding. "Why are they so stupid?" A girl in front of me cried out, her voice trembling. "Why would you split up?" But it was too late for those characters. One by one, they fell victim to their own hubris, each demise more horrific than the last, culminating in a scene that left the audience breathless. The final showdown took place in the dark bowels of the ship, a claustrophobic labyrinth of twisted metal and shadows. The last remaining crew members fought, desperation clawing at their throats. "Get back! It's behind you!" A man screamed, and I felt the room shift, the collective fear hanging like a thick fog. The creature lunged, its grotesque features illuminated by the flickering lights. Blood sprayed the walls, a gruesome tapestry of life and death. The screams crescendoed, a symphony of terror playing out before us. I could feel the sweat trickling down my back, the adrenaline coursing through my veins as I gripped the armrests, knuckles white. When the credits finally rolled, the theater erupted into chaos. People jumped to their feet, some laughing hysterically, others frozen in shock. I sat there, my heart racing, the horror of what I had just witnessed settling over me like a shroud. "Did you see that?" someone exclaimed, their voice shaking with excitement. But there was something more sinister lurking beneath the surface of that enthusiasm. I glanced around the theater, taking in the faces illuminated by the faint glow of the exit signs. They were rapturous, eyes wide, some even grinning with the manic glee. The bloodshed on screen had awakened something primal within them, a hunger for violence, a fascination with the grotesque. As I walked out, the laughter of the crowd echoed in my ears, a haunting reminder of the darkness we all shared. The film had been a mirror, reflecting our own twisted desires, our fascination with death and destruction. The final shot of the film, the alien's bloodied maw glistening in the dim light, lingered in my mind. What did it say about us, I wondered? That we craved this violence, that we reveled in the suffering of others? The theater's door shut behind me, and I stepped into the night, the cool air hitting my face like a slap. But the warmth of the theater, the echo of laughter, the screams of terror, they stayed with me, a chilling reminder that sometimes the real horror lies not in the story itself, but in the audience that watches it unfold. The real horror began as I stood outside the theater, the neon lights flickering above like the last gasps of a dying star. The night was too quiet, the streets too empty. I pulled my jacket tighter around me, a futile attempt to ward off the creeping chill that settled deep in my bones. That's when I noticed her, a woman standing at the edge of the parking lot, her face obscured by shadows. She glanced my way, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. There was something unsettling about her presence, a wrongness that made the back of my neck prickle. "Hey," she called out, her voice soft but laced with an edge. "Did you see the movie?" I hesitated before nodding, the image of the alien's gory rampage flashing in my mind. Yeah, it was. Intense. She stepped closer, revealing a face marred by scars, a grotesque reminder of some unseen horror. Intense is one way to put it. But do you know what's worse than fiction? I swallowed hard, the air thickening around us. What do you mean? She smirked, a chilling expression that sent a fresh wave of fear coursing through me. Reality. This world is filled with monsters far worse than anything you saw on that screen. I wanted to laugh, to brush off her words as the ramblings of a disturbed mind. But there was an unsettling sincerity in her gaze, a darkness that seemed to resonate with the horrors I had just witnessed. It was as if she understood something I didn't, a truth that lay just beneath the surface. Like what? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She tilted her head, her eyes glinting with a manic light. Like the killer who's been stalking this town. You haven't heard, have you? I felt the blood drain from my face. No, what are you talking about? There's been a string of disappearances, she said, her tone almost gleeful. People don't just go missing. They end up like those characters in the movie, torn apart, left for dead. They think it's just an urban legend, but it's real. A chill washed over me, the reality of her words settling like a heavy fog. You're lying, I insisted, but my heart raced with fear. Am I? She challenged, stepping closer. You think you can escape the horrors of this world? They're everywhere, lurking in the shadows. Just like that creature you watched tonight, it's not just a figment of imagination. It's real, and it's hungry. I took a step back, the weight of her words pressing down on me. What do you want from me? She laughed, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. I want you to understand. To see that the true monsters are not the ones on the screen, but the ones who walk among us. They're the ones who will tear you apart, piece by bloody piece. I turned to run, but she grabbed my arm, her grip unyielding. You can't escape it. Not now, not ever. You think you're safe, but you're just another potential victim. Just another name to add to the list. The darkness around us deepened, and I glanced around, desperate for help. The parking lot was empty, the cars mere silhouettes against the night sky. I felt trapped, cornered by her madness. Let go of me, I shouted, but she only tightened her grip, her eyes gleaming with the manic intensity. This is your chance to wake up, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. To see the world for what it really is. The killer. He's closer than you think. He was in that theater, watching the same movie, reveling in the horror with you. He could be anyone. Stop it, I cried, fear clawing at my throat as I tried to yank my arm free. Her laughter echoed, a haunting melody that filled the air. You don't get it, do you? You're already part of the horror. The moment you watched that film, you became complicit. You fed the monster with your fear, your curiosity. With a sudden burst of strength, I broke free from her grasp and stumbled backward. I was hyperventilating, the world spinning around me. You're insane. Am I? She said, her smile widening. Or am I just the only one brave enough to face the truth? I turned to run, adrenaline surging through my veins. I sprinted toward my car, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear her laughter trailing behind me, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked in the corners of my mind. As I fumbled with my keys, I glanced back. She stood there, a shadow in the night, watching me with a twisted grin. You can't escape the monster inside you, she called, her voice echoing in the stillness. It's already too late. I jumped into my car, slamming the door shut as I locked it. My hand shook as I started the engine, the roar of the vehicle drowning out her laughter. I sped away, the headlights cutting through the darkness, but the lingering chill of her words clawed at my sanity. The streets blurred past me, a nightmarish landscape painted in shades of fear and uncertainty. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was right, that the true horror wasn't in the movie, but in the reality of our existence. I drove aimlessly, seeking solace, but all I found was an overwhelming sense of dread. I passed streetlights flickering like dying stars, shadows creeping along the pavement. The world felt wrong, twisted, as if the very fabric of reality had been tainted by the darkness I had just witnessed. As I finally turned onto my street, I saw a figure standing under the streetlight. My heart dropped as I recognized the familiar silhouette. It was Eric, the pilot from the film, or at least someone who looked eerily like him. He wore a bloodied shirt, a haunting grin plastered across his face. "Help me," he shouted, his voice an echo of desperation. "It's coming for me. You have to save me." I slammed on the brakes, panic rising within me. But as I looked closer, I saw the glint of something sharp in his hand, a knife glistening with fresh blood. "Get away from me!" I screamed, but he took a step closer, eyes wild, the grin of a man who had crossed into madness. "Don't you see? It's already too late," he laughed, the sound a chilling reminder of the horrors that lay just beneath the surface. "We're all part of it now. We're all monsters." I turned the wheel, my instincts screaming for me to flee. The car roared to life as I sped past him, but I could still hear his laughter, echoing in the night. The world blurred into a nightmarish reality, each shadow a reminder that true horror was not confined to the screen, but lived and breathed among us. And as I drove into the darkness, I realized the truth. The monsters were real, and they were hungry. The night swallowed me whole, and deep down, I knew I'd never escape the blood on my hands.
Alien Remake is a myth and totally made up by us. View the details in the video description. Please subscribe, or else.